there, this is Tata and welcome to the Just Saying Time Push Show. It is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, which means I will be reviewing AEW Dynamite. Tonight's Dynamite was the fallout from Revolution. Alright, so normally when I do these reviews, I like to go in order, but I feel there's a couple things we need to talk about before I even get into tonight's show. So, Bryan Danielson promo, it was a mixture of him talking after his Iron Man match and footage from that match. So he starts talking about how he always thought he was doing this for his kids. And he was forced to retire and he wanted to teach them that if you love something, you gotta fight for it. What he realized out there tonight, referring to Sunday, was that Max was right. He said that this whole time, his whole career has been legs, lungs, heart, and never giving up. And that's always what he thought was best. Fight, to simply fight. He says that when he woke up from being unconscious and he's in the label lock, his first instinct was to fucking fight. They censored that, by the way. He says as he was fighting, he realized he couldn't feel his arm and his left leg didn't have any strength left. And that when Max said after the Iron Man match that Bryan wouldn't be able to play with his kids, it dawned on him he's right. So then it kind of shows Bryan playing in the ring with his two kids and his nephew. He was putting himself before his family, and more than tapping out, that made him feel more ashamed than anything else. And he says that it's time for him to go home. So this was a very emotional, very heartfelt promo by Bryan Danielson. And this was right after his defeat by MJF at Revolution. And as someone who was there, the crowd chanted for Bryan after the match was over. And he was just so overwhelmed with emotion cutting this. And a couple points that I want to talk about was that he said that MJF was right. Remember, one of the reasons why MJF hated Bryan Danielson was because he said that Bryan put wrestling over his family. And that's why Bryan here is saying that MJF was right. So, but I honestly really like this promo, this video package promo. And I thought it was very heartfelt, very emotional. So Bryan says he's going home. This is a way to write Bryan Danielson off of TV. So now it's, where does Bryan go from here? So far, every opportunity he's had at the title, he has failed at. And I know when Bryan comes back, he would get a very big pop. I don't know how long he's going to be going away for. I haven't read anything. I haven't heard anything. I would think that Bryan would probably be out for a good while since he's talking about he's going to go home. But what did you guys think of Bryan Danielson's promo? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. So we also find out from Tony Khan tonight that next week, that as requested by Orange Cassidy, he will defend the All-Atlantic title against Jeff Jarrett. And the whole point of this announcement is that Tony Khan is letting us know that now the All-Atlantic title has become the AEW International title, and it's going to be the first defense of the international title. But what did you guys think of the name change? You know, me personally, I felt like probably you should have just called it that from the beginning, the AEW International Championship. But what did you guys think of the name change? Do you guys prefer the AEW All-Atlantic title or the AEW International Championship, the AIC? Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about before I start reviewing the show from the beginning is a Falls Count Anywhere match for the TNT Championship, Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Remember, Powerhouse Hobbs did win the Face of the Revolution match to earn this opportunity. We weren't sure if he was going to face Samoa Joe or Wardlow. So this match started in the back. It didn't even start in the ring. I like when Wardlow did the back body drop to Powerhouse Hobbs on that windshield wiper on that car. My favorite spot in this match was when Wardlow did the swanton onto Powerhouse Hobbs through a table, and that powerbomb symphony to Hobbs on the ramp was pretty cool too. Okay, so because this is a Falls Count Anywhere match, anything goes. QT Marshall got involved in this. And he hit Wardlow with the steel chair and then gave him a low blow. And he kept hitting him with that steel chair, and then QT Marshall and Powerhouse Hobbs threw Wardlow onto this padding type thing. And so Powerhouse Hobbs won by count out as Wardlow can no longer stand up for a 10 count. And so Powerhouse Hobbs has become the new TNT champion. So Wardlow just won the title at Revolution from Samoa Joe. You know, on top of the fact that his car was broken into, the title was stolen from him, he went and lost the title tonight. I get it. They probably wanted to give Powerhouse Hobbs a moment in his home state, but I'm so surprised he dropped it here. Now, with QT Marshall's involvement, probably tells me that this feud and rivalry isn't over. I can probably see it going to Double or Nothing in May. We're definitely gonna get a rematch out of this, especially with that finish. And you can make the argument and say, oh, well, you should have just kept the title on Samoa Joe if this was gonna happen, because Wardlow literally just won the title, now he lost it. But I feel like because of QT Marshall's involvement, this feud is not going to be over. This feud's going to continue. And so that is how Dynamite ends, with Powerhouse Hobbs being your new TNT champion. And I have to say, like, I was at Revolution, and for some people, they felt that the Wardlow versus Samoa Joe match was probably a little underwhelming for them. I think a lot of people were expecting Samoa Joe to retain. All right, so now that I've talked about those three things, let's get into this review from the beginning. Tonight's show kicked off with the final defense of the All-Atlantic title. It is Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal, and this is a rubber match between both men. So the rest of Jay Lethal's team got sent to the back. Commentary make note of the fact that August 2022, Jay Lethal pinned Orange Cassidy. Oh my god. One of the things I liked about this was Jay Lethal, not only did he do the strut during this match, but he also mocked Orange Cassidy. So Orange Cassidy ends up retaining after he hints the orange punch to Jay Lethal. The ref tries to stop Jay Lethal from hitting Orange Cassidy with the Golden Globe, but this was just a distraction as Jeff Jarrett came and hit the stroke to Orange Cassidy and then a guitar across the knee. So overall, I thought that was a great opening match. I really did enjoy the match. Orange Cassidy's a really good wrestler. Overall, great opening contest, really good match. Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal was a good way to kick off tonight. We get a Powerhouse Hobbs backstage interview, and he's talking about how it's so unfortunate what happened to Wardlow. So Wardlow's car did get broken into, and they stole the TNT title. He says that Wardlow's life is in shambles, and that there's only one thing Wardlow has left, and that's being a champion. And tonight he takes that from Wardlow. So we get a Ricky Starks promo. And he says that the past 11 days he spent in California, from San Francisco to Sacramento, and week after week he's taken down Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society. And he asks, what is next for him? He literally says that he's not sure, but he will say this. Where is he going to go next? And then out of nowhere, you see the Bullet Club logo and the Bullet Club music, and Juice Robinson attacks Ricky Starks. So this angle kind of left me intrigued, because it's like, why is Juice Robinson picking a fight with Ricky Starks? Is he going to maybe try to recruit him in the Bullet Club? Could it be a sign of Jay White possibly coming to AEW? I guess we got to wait and see, but I'm actually really curious about this Juice Robinson Ricky Starks feud. We get a Wardlow backstage interview, and he says that he's still with a great deal of loss. A buddy of his let him borrow some clothes, and it was an FTR shirt. He's going to demolish Hobbs, and no man on earth is going to take that from him. And he reveals that tonight's match is a Falls Count Anywhere match. After this, we get a Ruby Soho in-ring promo, and she's talking about how it's obvious and says everybody created this monster. She talks about her first title match at Grand Slam. She lost, and the crowd was thrilled. Semifinals of the Owen Hart tournament, where she beat Chris Statlander, she got booed. And then she brings up how Jimmy Hayter pinned her in the middle of the match. So, and Ruby Soho brings up good points. People were not happy that she beat Chris Statlander in the semifinals of the Owen Hart tournament. And I remember her first title match at Grand Slam. I don't remember the crowd being thrilled that she lost. I feel like the crowd was actually rooting for her, but maybe my memory is a little foggy. She goes on to say Toni Storm wasn't appreciated as champion, and that when people begged Saraya to come out of retirement, then she got booed. You can't build on a broken foundation. And she talks about how the entitled rookies think they deserve the world because Tony Khan and the crowd give it to them. So I'm not surprised Ruby Soho turned heel at Revolution. I think some people saw it coming. I said on my show that Ruby was going to turn heel either before the Originals versus the Outsiders or during that match, but she turned heel, so it makes sense. And this promo leads into Sky Blue versus Ruby Soho, which Ruby Soho won. And Willow Nightingale came out and tried to talk some sense into Ruby, but she, along with Saraya and Toni Storm, attack her. Okay, so that's 3. It's Toni Storm, Saraya, and Ruby Soho. You could throw in Athena in there. If their goal is to do maybe like a blood and guts match here, you can throw in Athena. And on the other side, you got Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter. And again, I don't know what happened to Hikaru Shida, but she was a part of the dispute, so you can have that. So that would be 3-3, but they would still need one more person each. You get a Hangman Adam Page backstage interview, and he's talking about how physically he's doing better in his mind, heart, and soul. And like, he does not look good. Like, he's got a black eye. He just looks all beat up. He said he let his heart get blackened, and that if people want to try or push, he will take them to hell. And he owes Renee an apology specifically for what she had to see on Sunday. And when it comes to Jon Moxley, he says him and Moxley are done. So I was at Revolution, and I had to say, like, seeing Hangman choke Jon Moxley out with that chain live was like, oh my god, like, wow. Like, that whole match, the Texas Death Match, was actually my favorite match at Revolution, next to the Iron Man match, but rightfully so. I could see why Hangman is apologizing to Renee for what he did to Jon Moxley. We get an MJF promo, and he starts talking about that with the tear in his eye, they wanted to doubt him, wanted to question his ability in the ring. He talks about, you people are worried about his mental health. Maybe they should get checked. Maybe they should get their brain checked, because they actually thought Bryan was on his level. Bryan is the best in the world, my ass. He just made the dragon tap out, and he snapped his wing clean off. MJF goes on to say that maybe he is the devil and has horns growing out of his forehead. Maybe he's got a silver tongue, but he's got the grandest prize of all, the Triple B. Goes on to say that now his back isn't against the wall, he's feeling good, and that it's time to celebrate. Daddy is single in San Francisco, and he's ready to celebrate, but is not done. March 15th, the Idols of March, just so happens to be the birthday of the greatest wrestler on God's green earth. He's talking about himself. Says he's gonna scroll on into wretched Winnipeg, and will celebrate the fact that he is the most complete wrestler in the world. He said he's not gonna have a regular birthday because that's for chumps. He will have a bar mitzvah because ain't nobody dethroning the devil, because his reign of terror has just begun. So MJF, you know, he's really good at cutting promos. I've said that before. I never disliked the promos that he talks about. I mean, he beat Bryan Danielson. So I wonder who's next for MJF. I guess we'll find out next week. They'll set something up, but I think that we'll probably maybe get an indicator as to what's next for him or who his next opponent is. You know, weddings, celebrations, contract signings in wrestling never end well. I feel like this celebration is not going to end well for MJF. So FTR comes out. As you guys know, FTR did make their grand return at Revolution after the Guns retained their titles. And I said that if the Guns retain, it's because FTR was going to come back. And I was right. Cash talked about how he missed that. Like, because the fans are chanting for FTR. He said 2022 was a great year for them, but the last few months have been bad for them. They lost to the Acclaimed, they lost to the Guns, they lost one of their best friends in wrestling, lost all 3 tag titles in the span of a month. Remember, they were the IWGP Tag Team Champions, the 3PA Tag Team Champions, and the ROH Tag Team Champions. They go on to say that they couldn't sit at home and watch the Guns call themselves the best tag team. And they call them disrespectful little assholes because their father gave them everything. Dax goes on to say how much he cares about the fans, how the fans never left FTR, pro wrestling never left FTR, and FTR loves the fans too. He says, Dax says that the Gun Club ruined the memory of their last match with the Briscoes, so it's time for retribution, and they make it known they want those tag titles. In my opinion, I feel like FTR should have won those tag titles when they had all those belts. I thought that was what they were going to go for, but they ended up not winning the tag titles when they had all those other titles. We're going to Jade Cargill backstage interview. And basically, since they're going to be in Canada, she says that she's ran through everyone in the United States and she wants Canada to bring out the best they have to offer. So very curious to see who answers that open challenge. If Chelsea Green was not in the WWE, I would say maybe Chelsea Green because she is Canadian. Maybe Taya Valkyrie. I'm trying to think of other female Canadian wrestlers besides those two. But who do you think would answer Jade Cargill's open challenge in Canada? We get the Jericho Appreciation Society versus Top Flight and AR Fox, which was actually not a bad match. I actually really enjoyed this match. Of course, Jericho Appreciation Society ends up winning. They get a big win. So because they get this win, they start talking about how it's the single greatest victory in trios match. It's the 1-year anniversary of the Jericho Appreciation Society, and they are the epitome of sports entertainers. And they feel that after such a beautiful victory, it's only fair that they become number one contenders for the trios titles. And Sammy Guevara says that they're also sexy. So Jericho ends up calling out the House of Black, but instead the Elite come out. And Kenny Omega says that they haven't gotten involved in their business, and they haven't gotten involved in theirs out of a mutual respect. You know, they pretty much stayed in their lane. Don Callis takes the mic and says that the Elite are number one contenders, not Jericho Appreciation Society. And he goes on to say that Jericho is the second best wrestler from Winnipeg, Kenny Omega being number one. And so House of Black appear on the Titantron, and they say that if JAS wants the titles, and then the lights go out and they appear, they can come get those titles. So we find out we're going to have a 3-way next week for those tag titles. It's going to be the Elite versus JAS versus House of Black. That should be a really good match. I expect House of Black to retain it because they literally just won those titles. I don't expect them to lose anytime soon. But you know what's interesting is that like Jericho has entered the tag team division and they failed to win the tag titles. Now they're entering the trios division, and let's see if they end up winning the trios titles. I doubt they will, or maybe somewhere down the road they might, but I don't think they're winning next week, even in Jericho's hometown of Winnipeg. We get a Blackpool Combat Club match. It's Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli versus the Dark Order in the form of Alex Reynolds and John Silver. And like Moxley just immediately went after Alex Reynolds here. It's no surprise that the Blackpool Combat Club ended up winning this, but what happened afterwards was the surprising part. So there's a post-match attack on Alex Reynolds. Evil Uno came out to save his friends. Then Hangman came out and he just like blazed through Jon Moxley. But then the BCC, and Claudio Castagnoli attacked Hangman Adam Page. So it seems like the Blackpool Combat Club are now heels. And since Claudio attacked Hangman, I can definitely see Hangman versus Claudio. Super Card of Honor is 22 days away. Maybe Hangman versus Claudio for that ROH World title at Super Card of Honor. Just throwing that out there. We get the Acclaimed backstage interview, and Matt Menard and Angelo Parker show up, and they say they love the Acclaimed. They love rap music. And Angelo Parker says that they want the Acclaimed to join the Jericho Appreciation Society, and the Acclaimed basically just laugh at them. I don't think the Acclaimed would join JAS, but it's hilarious that they even offered for the Acclaimed to join them. But I could see a tag team match brew out of this. I could see Angelo Parker and Matt Menard versus the Acclaimed probably. If not next week, maybe on Rampage. And then the main event ended up being the Falls Count Anywhere match for the TNT title. But I did talk about that at the beginning, so I'm not going to discuss it again. But just quick summary. Powerhouse Hobbs is new TNT champion. But overall, I felt like tonight's show, this is the fallout from Revolution. And I honestly feel like they did a good job at advancing some storylines. And aside from the opening contest, I kind of felt like tonight's show was a bit lackluster. I was expecting more. That main event match was pretty good. Now, we got a lot of backstage segments and interviews sprinkled out throughout this whole show, but I just felt like tonight's show was just missing something. MJF wasn't there. You would think you'd have your world champion there, but he wasn't there. Overall, I might give tonight's show a 5 out of 10. I felt like tonight's show was pretty weak, but overall, we'll see what happens next week. But thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified when I go live or release a new video. And I will see you guys Friday, but it won't be live. It'll just be recorded and uploaded. Well, with that being said, see you guys Friday. Bye.